Welcome to the module Risk Management Principles of the online short course on risk management for food safety. This is the second of three content-specific modules explaining different aspects of risk management in the context of food safety. Note that this risk management course has been developed by the TARTAR project that is led from The Ohio State University, and that it is a companion course to online short courses on decision-making, risk assessment, and risk ranking. My name is Leon Gurres, and I am a consultant on the TARTAR project. I gratefully acknowledge Lucia Annelich of Annelich Consulting in South Africa and Ilse, based in Washington, for making slides available for this module from a taught course they've developed under auspices of FAO. On behalf of the TARTAR project, I would like to thank you for joining this short course and wish you a very good learning experience. As a reminder, this graphic shows the different steps of risk management as it has been adopted and advocated by Codex Alimentarius. Risk management is there for a purpose, and through the Codex Alimentarius system, countries around the globe have agreed on the purpose and on the principles that risk management needs to adhere to. In short, the purpose of risk management is to support public health protection and fair trade in the area of food safety. The principles of risk management are listed on the next slide. The 8 abbreviated risk management principles listed here are based on the Codex Alimentarius Principles and Guidelines on Microbiological Risk Management, or MRM. But they are more generally relevant and would also apply to, for instance, chemical or physical food safety risks for consumers, or to animal health risks. Respecting these principles is fundamental to good food safety risk management. Each of these principles will be briefly elaborated on in the following slides. Whether microbiological risk management is used in the context of facilitating international trade or in the frame of a national food safety assurance system, the protection of human health should be the primary consideration. Microbiological risk management needs to address the conditions influencing the hazard or the hazards under consideration, potentially starting from primary production until the moment of consumption. For instance, relevant environmental conditions along the food value chain that affect the dynamics of microorganisms have to be considered. However, as a result of preliminary risk management activities, it may be decided by risk managers that a risk assessment should focus on part of the value chain, maybe on an early or a later stage that is most relevant for understanding the risk to consumers or for assessing the best risk management options. Principle 3 describes the structure of the risk management process. These are the 4 subcomponents of risk management that we have seen in the earlier slide. Following this structured approach helps to ensure that all important steps are taken and that a good risk management practice is followed. Transparency and consistency have to do with clear descriptions of the procedures and practices that have to be followed in all aspects of risk management. It is important to provide to experts and stakeholders, for instance, the risk management policy, the establishment of priorities, the allocation of resources, the risk management questions, and the selection of factors to be used in evaluation of risk management options. Good record keeping and documentation definitely serve such transparency, as documentation can be read and evaluated by interested parties and may serve as a basis for reviewing, updating, and revising the risk management decision. Effective consultation with relevant interested parties is essential because the control options selected for risk mitigation will need to be implemented by various food industry operators along the value chain. Consultation with consumers is important as well, because consumers need to accept control options and often have a role to play in their application. For instance, when certain foods may pose a higher risk to certain parts of the population, like soft cheeses to pregnant women, but not for the many other parts of the population, it may be decided to keep them on the market but to put a warning on the label instructing those at risk. While risk managers and risk assessors need effective interactions during the development of a risk assessment, a functional separation between risk assessors and risk managers is required in order to assure that risk assessors can focus on developing the science base for decision-making by risk managers, and that risk managers can discharge their responsibility in making policy-based decisions on the acceptability or the need to mitigate risk. Regional differences may exist in food value chains, in eating habits, and in the prevalence of hazards in, for instance, raw materials, animal feed, and the environment. Risk management should adequately take these differences into account. Also, the perception of food safety risks may differ between regions in the world. These differences in perception could well influence risk management, but should, however, not influence risk assessment. Microbiological risk management should be a continuous improvement process, and the results of decisions made in the past should be monitored and reviewed in a timely fashion. Evidently, when risk management decisions do not deliver the level of risk mitigation targeted for, or when a risk situation has significantly changed, such decisions should be appropriately revisited and possibly revised. Now let's have a look at the risk management process. A structured approach to risk management is important. We mentioned that already. It facilitates the identification of areas where risk assessment could be useful, the interaction with the risk assessors, and ultimately the utilization of the risk assessment outcomes. Although the flowchart of risk management activities shown in this slide seems to follow a rather linear process, conducting risk management may be a very complex and iterative process. It can follow many different pathways, and at many points along these various pathways, decisions have to be made by risk managers on the next steps to follow. Some reasons why risk management may be complex are: risk managers need to consider conflicting views. Feasibility of risk management options has to be examined, both technically as well as in terms of cost to the industry and maybe the cost in terms of consequences to consumers. The perception of the consumer may overrule science if the consumer is, for instance, not willing to buy the food produced using additional control options, for instance, when additional steps are mandated, like adding preservatives or sterilizing food, or when a new technology is mandated, maybe irradiation. Another complexity is that the uncertainty of the data available to risk managers may hamper decision-making. Doing a risk assessment is one of the several pathways that can be taken, and in taking this pathway, risk managers will need to open additional pathways for communication and interaction with experts that undertake the risk assessment, but also with those non-experts that are stakeholders in the ultimate risk management decision and that are impacted by risk management options implemented. Here is another view on the risk management process. This graphic was presented in the report on the outcomes of a joint FAO-WHO expert meeting in Kiel, Germany in the year 2006. The report is entitled "The Use of Microbiological Risk Assessment Outputs to Develop Practical Risk Management Strategies." The graphic was adapted from a similar diagram in the draft Codex document on the conduct of microbiological risk management that was being developed at the same time. However, the graphic never made it to the published final guidance document. More than the previous graphic, this one provides a good appreciation of the iterative and continuous nature of risk management, in this case in the context of microbiological risk management. It demonstrates that risk management actions can be triggered at many points in the process, and that there should be an ongoing commitment to review the risk management options implemented in order to verify that they are operating as planned and are effective. but also to make sure that the data gathering and risk assessment process both continue as necessary to further evolve the risk manager's understanding of the situation under consideration. Please do read this report and other reports for your further information. In summary, good risk management follows a structured process and adheres to key principles such as transparency, consistency, documentation, stakeholder engagement, impact assessment and review. To address a risk situation, risk managers may follow different pathways, for instance using a risk assessment or not, but typically the risk management process is interactive and continuous in nature. Risk management decision-making is not one-off, but rather part of a process of continuous improvement of public health and fair trade in the context of food safety. Please note this acknowledgement. This risk management short course module has been compiled using slides from a course developed originally by the Industry Council for Development and then endorsed by FAO and WHO. In 2017, the International Life Sciences Institute, ILSI, updated this course under auspices of FAO. Lucia Annelich, food safety consultant from South Africa, has been leading that update. I sincerely thank Lucia and ILSI for making the updated slides available to the TARTAR project. Thank you for joining this course module on risk management principles. Please note that 3 other modules of this course are available. Module 1, Introduction, Module 2, Roles and Responsibilities of Risk Managers, and Module 4, Use of Risk Assessment in Risk Management. You can access all of these risk management modules and other short courses of TARTAR following the link shown on this slide. On behalf of the TARTAR project, I would like to thank you for joining this short course and encourage you to attend the other modules and short courses as well.